Hey there, friend. Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, you picked a good one. Today we're talking about a topic that gets thrown around a lot online, especially on social forums, threads, and certain corners of the internet where people love talking at women instead of to them. Yep, we're talking about why older women supposedly hit the wall in dating. Now, before you roll your eyes, this isn't a rant or a pity party. It's real talk. We're unpacking what actually happens when you try to date later in life. From emotional walls to financial independence, to that awkward moment when someone calls you intimidating for knowing what you want. Spoiler alert, it's not the end of your love life, not even close. So pour yourself a glass of wine or tea, get comfy, and let's talk about why the wall isn't the tragedy people make it out to be, and how to walk right through it with your head held high. Number 1. Societal beauty standards, when the spotlight fades, but the glow is still real. Let's just say it. Society can be kind of a jerk sometimes, especially when it comes to how we treat women and aging. When you're in your 20s or 30s, the world is practically throwing compliments your way. You're glowing! Wow, you haven't aged a day! But then somewhere in your 40s or 50s, the compliments shift. Suddenly it's, you look good, for your age, or you're so elegant, like Meryl Streep. Nothing against Meryl, but still. The truth is, we live in a culture that puts youth on a pedestal, particularly for women. On dating apps, men often set their filters to stop at 39, like Cinderella's magic turns into a pumpkin the moment the clock strikes 40. It's ridiculous, and a little sad to be honest. But here's the thing no one tells you. Real attraction, the lasting kind, isn't about smooth skin or perky this or that. It's about how you carry yourself, how you laugh with your whole heart, and how you walk into a room like you own it. One woman in her 50s on a Reddit thread said, "I finally stopped caring about my wrinkles and started leading with my wit, and suddenly I had more dates than ever before." Boom! So yes, society might shift the spotlight. But guess what? That inner glow, your depth, your humor, your sex appeal, that's all still there. And honestly, it's better now because it's real. 2. Changing priorities, from drama to depth. Let's take a moment to acknowledge something important. You are not the same person you were in your 20s. And thank goodness for that, right? Back then, maybe you were swept off your feet by a guy just because he played guitar, had a motorcycle, or knew how to make decent pancakes at 2 a.m. No judgment. We've all been there. But now? Now you want more. You deserve more. Here's what a lot of women talk about online. And what I've seen in real life too. As we age, the dating priorities shift from chemistry to compatibility. It's not just, does he make my heart race? But also, can I talk to him after a long day? Does he respect my space? Is he emotionally grown up? Or am I going to have to babysit his ego? A woman on YouTube once said something that stuck with me. "I'm no longer looking for fireworks. I'm looking for someone who brings peace to my nervous system." Yes. But here's the catch. This beautiful clarity often narrows the dating pool. When you stop entertaining the emotionally unavailable, the wishy-washy, or the commitment phobic, things get a lot quieter. And that can feel like you've hit a wall. But really? That's just the sound of your standards going up. It's not a wall. It's a filter. And on the other side of that filter are the people who are actually worth your time. 3. The intimidation factor. When confidence becomes a problem. Now let's talk about something that really grinds my gears. The way a woman's success, independence, and confidence can actually scare off some men. Can we just pause and appreciate how messed up that is? You work hard. You've built a life. Maybe you own your home, have a career you're proud of, raised amazing kids, or just learned how to take care of yourself on every level. You'd think that would make you a catch, right? But here's what a lot of women are finding. And it's echoed all over Reddit and YouTube comments. is that some men see that independence and feel like there's no role left for them to play. Like if you don't need to be rescued or coddled, then what's the point? One woman on a dating forum shared a story that made me laugh and sigh at the same time. She went on a date with a guy who, upon hearing she owned 2 properties, muttered, "Well, I guess you don't need a man then." She said, "I don't need one, but I was hoping to want one." Mic drop. The truth is, your strength might intimidate the wrong men, but it will attract the right ones. The man who sees your independence and thinks, "Wow, I'm lucky to be with someone so capable," that's your guy. Not the one who sees you as competition in some weird ego contest. So yes, your success might make dating more selective, but isn't that the point? 4. Health and energy levels. When Saturday nights turn into pajama o'clock. Let's be honest, dating in your 50s or 60s can be exhausting. Not because you're old, let's throw that word out right now, but because you've got life on your shoulders. You've been working, caring, building, juggling, and now you're trying to date. And suddenly someone suggests meeting for dinner at 9 p.m. Sir, that is practically bedtime. It's not just physical energy either, it's emotional bandwidth. In your 20s, you had the luxury of time. You could swipe, text, ghost, reappear, go on a mediocre date, recover, and repeat all in the span of a week. But now, just getting ready for a date might take strategic planning, energy conservation, and possibly a motivational playlist. And here's something else people don't mention enough. Health differences become more apparent as we age. You might be full of vitality, yoga on Tuesday, pickleball on Thursday, while your date huffs and puffs after walking across the parking lot. Or the opposite, you're managing a chronic issue, and he's suddenly talking about hiking Mount Kilimanjaro. It can create a mismatch, and sometimes that's enough to make people feel like dating is just too complicated. But here's where it flips. Once you find someone who matches your pace, suddenly it's not about what you can't do, but all the things you get to do together. Like that woman I knew who met her partner in a Tai Chi class. They bonded over slow, deliberate movement and now travel the world at a moderate, comfy pace. Together, romantic and practical. 5. Past baggage, carry-ons, check-ins, and the occasional emotional oversized luggage. Ah, baggage. Everyone's got some. By the time you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, you're not just bringing a carry-on into relationships. Sometimes it's a whole matched luggage set with wheels and emotional zippers that burst open unexpectedly. It could be a divorce that left a scar. Maybe it's trust issues from someone who broke your heart after 25 years. Maybe it's grief. Or maybe it's the ghost of your ex who somehow still manages to text you, "Hey stranger," every other year like clockwork. Because, of course. One woman I talked to, 56, divorced, smart as a whip, said to me, "Every date feels like a therapy session now. He's processing his ex, I'm processing mine, and the poor waiter's just trying to bring us nachos." I laughed, but ouch, it's real. The wall here is emotional fatigue. It's not that you're not willing to try again. It's that the emotional labor of sorting through someone else's pain while managing your own can feel overwhelming. And sometimes people withdraw entirely from dating because they're just not ready to unpack all of that again. But the thing is, the right person won't expect you to be baggage-free. They'll just want to help you carry it, maybe make space for their own beside yours. It's not about perfection. It's about finding someone whose past doesn't scare you because they're walking into the future with you. You just gotta be brave enough to check the bag, label it honestly, and trust that someone's gonna say, "It's okay, I've got space for this." 6. Family dynamics, kids, caregiving, and that one aunt who still lives with you. Dating after 50 doesn't happen in a vacuum. You're not just you. You're a you with a whole constellation of family around you. Adult children, grandkids, elderly parents, maybe even a pet who has stronger opinions than your ex-husband. And navigating all of that? Yeah, it can definitely feel like hitting a wall. Take this. A woman I know, 60, stunningly vibrant, tried dating a guy she really liked. Things were going well, until she mentioned that her 28-year-old son had moved back home, just for a few months. The guy visibly tensed up and said, "So, he lives with you?" Like she had broken some cardinal rule of dating by not having an empty nest. It's not just kids either. Many women are caregivers for their parents, their siblings, even their grandkids. And time for dating? That comes in small windows, squeezed between doctor's appointments, grocery runs, and helping someone install a printer for the 5th time. You're not just dating as you're dating as you plus your people. And some potential partners don't get that. They expect flexibility, spontaneity, the ability to take off for the weekend on a whim. And when you explain that your Saturday mornings are usually booked solid with errands and caregiving, some of them check out. But here's what I've learned. When someone's truly interested, really invested, they don't see your family dynamics as baggage. They see it as a sign that you're deeply loyal, selfless, and loving. They're not intimidated by the complexity. They respect it. So yes, dating can feel harder when you've got a full plate, but that full plate also says so much about the kind of woman you are. And the man who sees your family life and says, "I want to be part of that." That man is rare, but he exists. 7. Technological barriers, swiping, scrolling, and the existential crisis of profile bios. So let's just get this out of the way. Online dating can feel like learning a foreign language with no Rosetta Stone in sight. You open an app, and the first thing it wants is your photos, your about me, your ideal height range, and whether you're DTF or just here for vibes. Suddenly, you're Googling acronyms and wondering when dating became a part-time tech job. One woman I spoke to, 61, retired teacher, said it took her 2 weeks just to figure out how to upload her profile picture. I clicked on the little camera icon and nothing happened. I thought the app was broken. Turns out I needed to grant it photo access permissions. I didn't even know that was a thing. She laughed, but her frustration was real. I taught high school science for 30 years, and this dating app made me feel like I needed an IT degree. And once you get on the app, oh, the wild ride begins. There's ghosting, breadcrumbing, zombieing. Yes, that's a thing. When someone ghosts you and then comes back like nothing happened, and all these micro-interactions that leave you questioning whether you're flirting or just being polite. Technology, for many older women, becomes this invisible wall, not because they're not smart or capable, but because the culture of dating has changed so radically. Back in the day, someone liked you by, talking to you. Now it's emojis, timed responses, and profiles with 3 words and a shirtless selfie. But here's the thing. Once you get past the interface, the possibilities open up. That same woman? She eventually met her now partner through a seniors-focused dating site. She said, "It took me 3 apps, a scammer from Idaho, and one guy who only texted in song lyrics. But I found him, and he's worth every failed download." So if you're struggling with the tech side, give yourself grace. It's not you, it's the system. And with a little patience, and maybe a niece or tech-savvy friend, you'll get the hang of it. 8. Limited social circles. When the guest list shrinks and the silence gets louder. Here's one that hits a little closer to the heart, the way your social life shrinks as the years go on. When you're younger, you're constantly meeting people. At school, work, bars, weddings, parties, even just tagging along with friends. But now? Your co-workers are retired, your weekends are quiet, and your closest friends are either partnered off or just tired. One woman told me, "I used to go out every Friday. Now I look forward to my Friday date with Netflix and a weighted blanket." And listen, no shade. The weighted blanket is a blessing. But it doesn't help you meet new people. You might try to branch out, join a book club, a hiking group, maybe even a local community class. But even then, it can feel like everyone already has their group. You're the new girl at the dance, trying to break into a circle that's been spinning together for years. It's exhausting and at times disheartening. And let's not forget the pandemic impact. That changed everything. For a lot of women, those few reliable social outlets completely vanished. Coming back from that has been hard, especially when it feels like the world kept spinning while your social calendar stood still. This wall isn't a reflection of you being less desirable. It's about opportunity. Fewer new faces, fewer events, and less natural mixing means dating becomes work. You have to go out of your way to meet someone, and after a long day? Sometimes the couch wins, but don't give up. The solution here isn't becoming a party animal. It's finding intentional ways to meet like-minded people, even in smaller, quieter settings. A painting workshop, a book club that meets at a wine bar, a dance night for grown folks who want to boogie without the club drama. It just takes time to find the new rhythm. But it's there. 9. Reluctance to compromise. Standards, stubbornness, and knowing your worth. Now this one. This one is tricky, and I say it with all the love in the world. When you've lived a full life, you know what you want. And more importantly, you know what you don't want. So when someone comes along with habits that remind you of your ex, or they chew with their mouth open, or they still think women shouldn't talk about money, yeah, you're out. And rightfully so. You've earned your boundaries. But here's where it gets complicated. Sometimes, what we call high standards is actually just a fancy name for walls we've built to protect ourselves from hurt. We say, he must be emotionally intelligent, over 6 feet tall, financially stable, read at least 1 book a month, and never have been married twice. But sometimes, that list is really a form of fear. We're afraid of repeating old mistakes, so we tighten the criteria until no one gets through. One woman said, I realized I wasn't really giving anyone a chance. The second they did anything I didn't like, I ghosted. It felt safer that way. But after a while, she said the silence started to hurt more than the bad dates ever did. The key isn't to lower your standards. No one's suggesting you settle. But sometimes you have to ask, are these standards protecting me, or are they isolating me? There's a difference between saying, I won't date someone who's disrespectful, and he has to match 100% of my checklist, or I'm out. What's wild is that when you loosen the grip just a little, you might find that someone who didn't tick all the boxes actually surprises you with kindness, compatibility, and a type of connection you didn't know you were missing. So yeah, compromise isn't about shrinking yourself. It's about letting life surprise you again. And honestly, isn't that a beautiful thought? 10. Fear of rejection. When putting yourself out there feels like jumping without a parachute. Let's be honest, rejection stings at any age. But when you're older, it can feel deeper. Maybe it's because there's more at stake, or because you thought all the painful, awkward dating stuff was behind you. But suddenly, you find yourself getting ghosted after a 3-week texting spree, or someone says, "You're amazing, but I'm looking for someone younger," and it cuts a little too close to the bone. There's this story I'll never forget. A woman in her early 60s, confident, warm, stylish, went on a date with a man she really liked. They had a great time, laughed, even talked about meeting again. Then he disappeared. Poof, like Houdini in khakis. She said to me later, "I thought we had a connection, and now I'm sitting here wondering if it's because I mentioned my age or because I didn't order dessert." And that's the hard part. Your brain starts spinning. Was it something you said? Did you smile too much? Not enough? Wear the wrong lipstick shade? But here's the truth. Fear of rejection doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're still hopeful. You're still open to love, which is incredibly brave. And yes, the stakes feel higher now. You're not swiping for sport. You're looking for real, meaningful connection. So every no can feel like a little door closing on something you wanted. But rejection is never a reflection of your worth. Sometimes it's timing. Sometimes it's chemistry. And sometimes it's just the universe gently steering you away from someone who wasn't right for you, even if your heart hadn't caught up to that yet. The key is not letting rejection stop you from showing up. Because the right person? They won't reject you for being older. They'll be grateful you didn't settle before they found you. 11. Misaligned expectations. When you're reading Jane Austen and he's quoting Joe Rogan. One of the trickiest parts of dating at this stage is that you and your potential partners might be living on completely different pages. And I'm not just talking about politics or Netflix preferences. Sometimes it's a values thing. You're looking for emotional intimacy, companionship, shared experiences. Meanwhile, he's looking for, well, someone to keep things casual while he renovates his RV. And listen, no judgment on RVs. But if you're out here wanting consistency, communication, and someone who knows what a boundary is, you don't want to waste your time trying to turn a fling into a foundation. Misaligned expectations can also look like you wanting to build a future together. Trips, holidays, blended families. And him saying, "I'm just seeing where the wind takes me." That's not romantic at 58. That's retirement-era vagueness. One woman told me her date said, "I'm not looking for anything serious." Then proceeded to talk about how much he hated being alone and how he missed home-cooked meals. She blinked at him and said, "So you want a girlfriend, but without the emotional responsibility?" And I mean, she wasn't wrong. The thing is, older women often come in with clarity. You've done the hard emotional work. You know what works for you. But some men haven't done that same inner work, or they want the perks of a relationship without the depth. It's frustrating, sure, but you can use this clarity as your compass. Misaligned expectations don't mean you're failing at dating. They mean you're not wasting time. And time, my friend, is the most valuable currency you have. 12. Societal labels, the invisible woman effect, and other rude myths we need to retire. This one might be the toughest, because it's not just about the dating scene, it's about the world. At some point, women are told, subtly or not so subtly, that their value in the romantic world has an expiration date. That after a certain age, you become invisible. That if you don't look like a filtered Instagram model or haven't frozen yourself in time, no one's going to choose you. It's garbage, obviously, but it's everywhere. There's this term that pops up a lot online, the wall. It's mostly used by bitter guys who think women suddenly become unlovable after 35. It's cruel, reductive, and hilariously wrong, because the truth is most women are just getting started in their 40s, 50s, and beyond. You're more confident, more self-aware, more grounded. You know what red flags look like. You know what green flags feel like, but society doesn't always celebrate that. It glorifies youth, even when that youth comes with chaos and insecurity. Meanwhile, older women get hit with this double standard. You're too old to be sexy, but too young to stop caring. You're told to age gracefully, which is basically code for fade into the background without complaining. One woman shared with me that she once overheard someone say, "She's too old to still be dating." She smiled and replied, "Good thing I'm not dating you, huh?" Iconic. Honestly, we need her energy bottled. The wall that society builds? It's imaginary, but it's powerful because so many women start to internalize it. They think, maybe I've missed my chance. But you haven't. Not even close. What you've missed is the drama, the nonsense, and the heartbreak of dating without direction. Now, you get to date with intention, with depth, and with the full richness of who you actually are, not who you were pretending to be at 25. And if anyone makes you feel invisible, they weren't looking with eyes that deserved you anyway. 13. Financial independence. I don't need you, and that's confusing people. So here's something nobody warned us about. When you finally reach a place in life where you're financially stable, mortgage paid down, decent retirement fund, maybe even a vacation account with actual money in it, The dating world doesn't always know what to do with you. A woman I know, 58 and fabulous, told me, "When I was broke in my 20s, I had dates lined up like clockwork. Now that I've got a lake house and no debt, it's like I'm scaring them off." We both laughed, but she wasn't kidding. See, financial independence flips the script. You're not looking for a provider. You are the provider. You've handled your business, made sacrifices, worked hard, and now you've got freedom. But that freedom, it confuses people. Some men, not all, bless the evolved ones, tie their identity to being the breadwinner. So when they meet a woman who doesn't need their money, their guidance, or their handyman skills, they feel adrift. Like, wait, what do I bring to the table? And instead of digging deeper, some just retreat. Then there's the flip side. Men who see your stability and think, "Oh, a free ride." You start noticing subtle little comments like, "You don't mind covering dinner, right?" Or, "Must be nice to have that kind of money." Sir, I worked 40 years and lived off instant coffee. You will not be coasting on my Costco card. But here's the truth. Financial independence is power. It gives you the ability to date from desire, not desperation. You're not choosing someone to complete your life. You're choosing someone to enrich it. And that's a beautiful shift. It just means you might have to wade through a few fragile egos and freeloaders to get there. But don't dim your shine. The right person won't be intimidated by your independence. They'll be inspired by it. 14. Emotional walls. I built these for survival, not decoration. Let's talk about the invisible fortress. Those emotional walls that older women often carry around like invisible armor. You know the ones. They're made of past heartbreak, betrayals, disappointments, and that one guy who still owes you $500 and a decent apology. These walls weren't built overnight. They're the product of real experiences. Years of giving too much, loving too hard, and getting hurt too deeply. And after a while, the natural instinct is to say, "Nope, not again." You don't just guard your heart. You booby-trap the moat. A woman in her early 60s told me, "Every time I started to feel something for someone new, I'd shut down. I didn't even realize I was doing it. I just couldn't stand the idea of letting someone in, only to be disappointed again." And honestly, that makes total sense. Emotional walls are a survival tactic. They're there to keep pain out, but over time, they can also keep love out. You end up filtering every good thing through past trauma. He texts back late. He's ghosting. He's quiet. He must be hiding something. He's nice. Red flag. What's he hiding? It's exhausting, walking around armored all the time. You want love, connection, maybe even something deeper than you've ever had. But you're also terrified of opening the door to someone who might shatter your peace. What's the solution? It's not tearing down the walls completely. That's scary and unrealistic. But maybe, just maybe, you start building windows. Let the light in. Let people see you. Let them try. Let yourself be surprised, because the right person won't be scared off by your walls. They'll sit patiently at the gate, proving they're not there to invade, but to stay. 15. Perceived time constraints. Is it too late? Am I running out of time? Finally, the clock, not the biological one. That ship has either sailed or anchored depending on your journey. I'm talking about the emotional clock, that quiet pressure older women feel like, if it hasn't happened by now, maybe it's not going to. This shows up in so many subtle ways. You start questioning whether it's worth even trying. You hear about friends getting married or renewing vows, and part of you cheers them on, while another part whispers, "What if I missed my shot?" A 67-year-old woman once told me, "It's not that I think I'm too old for love. It's that I wonder if I have enough time left to enjoy it." That one stuck with me, because she wasn't being dramatic. She was just being honest. When you're dating in your 20s, you feel like you've got all the time in the world. Breakups are just detours. But at 50, 60? 70? There's a sense of urgency that creeps in. You want quality time, not just any time. But here's what I've seen again and again. The most intense, fulfilling, and joyful love stories often happen later in life. Because when it finally comes, it's pure. It's grounded. It's not tangled in insecurity or social pressure. It's two people saying, "I choose you as I am right now." And yes, maybe you don't have 40 years together, but what if you have 10 amazing ones, or 5 breathtaking ones, or even just 2 that change you completely? Love doesn't follow a schedule, and anyone who says you've missed your chance is projecting their own fears, not telling your truth. So no, you're not running out of time. You're entering your prime, just a different kind. The kind where the love you give and receive is wiser, deeper, and infinitely more intentional. Whew, okay, we went there. We talked about fear, rejection, mismatched expectations, dating apps that feel like psychological warfare, and even that little voice that whispers, "Is it too late?" And listen, if you've made it this far, I know one thing about you for sure. You care. You're still open. You're still in it. You haven't checked out or given up. You're just figuring out how to make dating make sense in a world that sometimes forgets the depth and beauty of a woman who's been through some things. And that so-called wall? It's not the end of the road. It's just the start of a different game, one where you're playing with more wisdom, more boundaries, and a lot less tolerance for red flags. You've lived, you've learned, and now you get to love smarter, deeper, and on your own terms. So the next time someone tries to tell you you've hit the wall, just smile. Because what they don't realize is that you built that wall yourself, brick by brick, out of experience, growth, and self-respect. And behind that wall is a woman who knows exactly what she wants. If this resonated with you, make sure you drop a comment, share your story, vent a little, or just say hey. And if you want more real talk like this, go ahead and subscribe. We're just getting started. Until next time, keep showing up, keep loving boldly, and remember, the only wall that matters is the one you decorate with your favorite photos after a weekend of love, laughter, and zero nonsense. See you soon.